Just over a month ago on the last Mellow Gaming Recommends, I covered the excellent Assault Android Cactus. Now, this game was heavily influenced by the games of Treasure, a company who are synonymous with arcadey, quirky, action-packed games such as Gunstar Heroes, Ikaruga, Radiant Silvergun. Now, I thought maybe I'd cover one of their games, and I thought I'd look at a game of theirs that's not usually covered by many people on the internet, often forgotten. That game is Astro Boy on the Gameboy Advance, Astro Boy Omega Factor to be exact. And it's an action-packed side-scrolling beat-em-up game that I think is deserving of a little bit more credit. For those of you that don't know, Astro Boy is generally considered the starting point of what is known as anime today. Astro Boy, or Tetsuwan Atom, as he's known in Japan, was created by the godfather of anime, Osamu Tezuka. The character originally appeared as a manga publication from 1951 to 1968, along with a short-run live-action serial. Astro Boy was then brought to animated form in 1963, and it was there that he found true success. So successful was Astro Boy that it almost literally created the genre of anime as we know it today. Others would attempt to emulate Tezuka's style, which would be echoed through character designs for years to come. Tezuka wasn't only known for Astro Boy though. You may know his characters from such works as Metropolis, Blackjack, and Kimber the White Lion, which is notorious for being an influence on Disney's The Lion King, which in turn is notable because Tezuka himself was a huge fan of Disney to the degree that the design of Astro Boy was influenced by the look of Mickey Mouse. The premise of Astro Boy could be viewed as pretty classical anime stuff these days. It tells the story of a childlike robot called Astro who was created by Dr. Tenma to replace his recently deceased son Tobio, who had died in a car crash. Dr. Tenma ends up rejecting Astro after realising he couldn't really replace his son. He is later found by Professor Okanomizu, who takes him under his wing after realising that maybe this robot has a soul and the ability to save people with his incredible 100k horsepower strength, his power of flight, and his arsenal of weapons, which include butt guns. Yes, guns in his butt. Officially, people seem to refer to them as hip guns, but I know a butt when I see one, and that butt has guns coming out of it. That can only mean one thing. At some point whilst designing the robot that would eventually become Astro, the living embodiment of his own son, Dr. Tenma must have looked at that butt and thought to himself, I could totally fit guns in there. Astro Boy Omega Factor goes over the origin story briefly with an image of Tobio being killed in a car crash, shockingly hardcore for a Game Boy Advance game. His head is mincemeat there. From there the game's story is simple, by which I mean is pure mad nonsense. So, right after being activated, Astro does a bit of training, stops a big spider robot on a rampage, and is then called upon to fight an artificial sun currently melting everything over the ocean. The sun was being controlled by some thieves who have kidnapped and enslaved a shape-shifting robot boy called Pook who appears to know you. You're forced to fight Pook, and after defeating him you're sent to the moon for a mission. From there you meet the first ever robot president, President Rag, who's running Antarctica. Soon you're caught up in an attempt on his life masterminded by a fellow called Rock, who Rag's likeness was modelled on after Rock forced Rag to campaign for his presidency run on his behalf on a platform that all robots should be enslaved, but then Rag revealed the truth and ruined Rock's schemes. You fight Rock on a train and then get dragged back in time 30,000 years to the lost civilization of Mu, where you meet Pook for the first time in his chronology. Where they attempt to stop plans of the evil Shiraku, Astro and his friends Wally travel back to the future, leaving Rock behind as he wishes to turn over a new leaf in Mu. When they arrive back in the future, well 5 years later than when they left, Shiraku has pretty much taken over the world. Astro is invited to join his army of elite robots, which Astro refuses, causing Astro to have to fight these robots. Upon beating them, and apparently the game, you are rewarded with the appearance of a giant entity known as Death's Head, who wipes out all robot life on Earth, including Astro. That's a bit of a downer ending, isn't it? But thankfully, it's not the actual ending. You see, as soon as the credits finish rolling, Astro is resurrected by a being known as Phoenix, a character from some of Osamu Tezuka's other manga comics, and you get a chance to now play through all the levels again, which may sound like a bad thing, but it's actually a good thing, because there's a bit of a twist coming up. This is where Astro Boy stops being just an Astro Boy game and really turns into a bit of a love-up to the works of Osamu Tezuka. As you play through the initial half of the game, titled Birth, you'll meet a number of characters from the Astro Boy anime and other Tezuka works. Every character you meet enhances Astro's soul through what is referred to as his Omega Factor, allowing him to boost one skill at a time. In the second half of the game, titled Rebirth, it's Astro's job to reach his full potential, which will require meeting every character in the game and effecting change in the timeline by travelling back and forth in time using a newly unlocked level select. doing so until Astro is strong enough to defeat Shiraku and stop Death's head. I really liked this twist the first time around, as while the game can be quite challenging, it felt a little short, and when I saw those credits roll, for a while at least, I was left feeling as if I had screwed something up along the way. This rebirth portion of the game requires a lot of backtracking and searching to complete, but it does effectively extend the game's life with new scenes and locations, as well as giving fans of Tezuka's works a whole ton of characters to enjoy discovering. Characters such as Duke, Red and Rock will likely be known to anyone who has seen Metropolis, and Blackjack is likely the second most well known of Tezuka's creations in the game, but there are many more. So for fans of Tezuka's work, this is quite the treat, as it does take you on a little bit of a guided tour of his works outside of Astro Boy. It's not a comprehensive guide, it's actually missing a character called Dororo, who's quite well known to Tezuka fans. But at the time, Sega, the publishers, were releasing a game on the PlayStation 2 called Blood Will Tell about Dororo, so maybe there was a clash of licenses there. Regardless, it's a very good starting point for anyone who hasn't seen Tezuka's work before, or maybe just wants to get into it a little bit. So, how about the gameplay? The game is split into two distinct gameplay types, a scrolling beat-em-up and a side-scrolling R-type style shooter. Mostly you'll be in the former, where you'll be punching robots in the face, using your kick to bounce them off each other, and generally destroying anything that may not be a friend. You have Astro Boy's finger laser and a powered up arm cannon at your disposal to dish out large amounts of damage to a whole row of enemies. You can use Astro's butt guns to stun enemies for a second, which I figure is mostly down to them trying to figure out why there are guns in your butt. You also have a little dash you can do to avoid any damage, which you'll need to rely on a lot. There's also a boosted charge you can do in any direction to dish out some real damage. These skills can all be upgraded by meeting characters as mentioned before, which allow you to boost the number of times you can dash in the air, how strong your punches are, and improves Astro's sensors so he can see in the dark or be alerted to the presence of any characters in the level you're currently in to assist you in completing the Omega Factor directory. As mentioned, the challenge can be quite harsh, even on normal difficulty. In fact, I really struggled getting footage of the game for this video as I kind of forgot how tough it was. Many of the bosses require you make multiple attempts at them in order to figure out the best strategy to employ. A few can be largely brute force, but some, such as North, require a little more thought to defeat. Even some of the regular stage areas can be tricky, as the game loves chucking tough enemies at you with little chance to replenish your health. The GBA is pushed pretty far in terms of how much action it will display, with enemies of all sizes filling the screen quite often. I've always liked how the game would scale enemies from regular to giant to teeny tiny sizes as you work through the stages. Thankfully, each level is split into smaller areas that you can restart from the beginning each time you fail. These areas aren't too long either, and a skilled player could probably blast their way through them pretty quickly. There's also that trademark treasure slowdown. Now, many people would probably get super frustrated by a game slowing down every other fight, but Treasure have been known to actually code this into their games in order to give the fights a weighty, dramatic feel. That said, I'm not sure how much of Astro Boy's slowdown is on purpose. It happens regardless of how big, small or many the enemies are, but there is a sense that it's there because they wanted it there. Speaking of the game's development background, Treasure were not the only devs on this. Omega Factor was a collaborative effort with Sega's Hitmaker division, who were responsible for a few pretty good games back in the Dreamcast and PS2 era, including Virtua Tennis, Crazy Taxi 2 and Sega Gaga. Granted, Hitmaker aren't as revered a studio as Treasure, but their console work is worthy of note for being a key studio in Sega's transition from console to software-only development. They were eventually consolidated into Sega's research and development studio as the company underwent its inevitable restructuring, making Astro Boy Omega Factor one of their very final projects. So that's it for Astro Boy. It's a pretty damn good game, and if you're a fan of Tezuka's works, anime, or even just action games in general, I'd say it's pretty much a must-have. If you're a Gameboy Advance collector, then definitely pick up this game. It tends to go for somewhere in the region of about £20 to £40, depending on if you want a cart-only or a box copy. But it's worth the investment. It takes probably around 10 hours to complete, and it's an enjoyable action blast away and quite a challenge. But that's all for today's video. Thank you for watching, guys. I do appreciate if you get to this end point of the video. So please do say in the comments below what you think of Astro Boy. If you've played it, tell me if you agree with me. And I'm going to go work on the next one of these videos because, you know, I'm a bit slow at this. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later. Hey there, boys and girls. Thanks for watching this video. That's taken me just over 2 months to actually make, because every time I went to record the voiceover stuff, there was a lot of noise outside. You'll probably see me complaining about it on Twitter. But thank you for watching and getting to the end of this part. I've been toying with the idea of maybe doing a Patreon thing so I can maybe help make these a little bit more ambitious. I'm currently borrowing my buddy's camera. As you may have noticed, the video quality was a lot better in this episode. Tell me what you think of it. If you want me to keep making these, tell me. I'm going to make another one anyway, I've got an idea coming. But anyway, thanks for watching. The link's below, link to the previous 2 Mellow Gaming Recommends, so check them out. I'll catch you later. Bye.